Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Ropes. I am so delighted to have you join us today. We want to get into talking about some of the weekend's boxing just past. We had the really exciting card that took place in Monaco, which saw, lots of interesting fights, a few upsets, a few ups and downs, but one in particular that I would like to discuss with you, Laurie, is Johnny Fisher's return to winning ways. He was in a fight against Ivan Balaz. I think I'm not saying that correctly, but
we get your drift.
But you get my drift, exactly. And it was a really entertaining fight because you saw very early on, I believe in the first round, he kind of got rocked.
He did, yeah.
And but then he stopped him in the fourth round. And the commentary were talking about a future potential dust-up between Johnny Fisher and also the latest British heavyweight champion, Jeamie TKV. And I would love to get your opinions on how you think that a fight like that would map out.
Interesting. So Johnny Fisher, as you said, come back to the ring after his devastating defeat by Dave Allen, where he was pretty much cleaned out, wasn't he? There was a lot going into this fight, a lot of jeopardy on it for him.
A lot of pressure as well.
Yeah, because if he loses this one, then he might end up going back to playing rugby, which is what he was doing before he came into boxing. And it's interesting because if I'm correct, then he was supposed to have fought somebody else, and that person dropped out or whatever, and then this guy...
It was a last-minute opponent, yeah.
So to be fair to Johnny Fisher, he wouldn't have known too much about him.
But on the other hand, if the guy is a last-minute switch-in, he obviously wasn't...
Yeah, that's true also.
Preparing for a fight like
But either
this.
way, you would have expected him to found an opponent that Johnny Fisher would let pretty much take care of fairly easily on the road back to, trying to get back to where he's aiming to go, which I would imagine is British level, top of British level. However, like you said, Melissa, he didn't get off to a very auspicious start because he got rocked heavily in the first round, went down. I'm not even sure if he was given a count, was he?
I can't remember.
But he was definitely on the floor. And he was rocked a few times in that fight before he came back to win in the fourth. And what you tend to find with fighters after they've suffered a big knockout is that, and you get this with a lot of fighters, they will be a little bit gun shy. I can understand that because they're not quite sure of their punch resistance, and it must be quite a nerve-wracking thing. And they're heavyweights as well, so these guys can hit. So in the end, he did get the job done. He showed some heart, got back on his feet. He landed a couple of good shots, got the guy out of there. That being said, though, I think we're seeing his limitations. And I say that respectfully. We're seeing a guy that, he's a trier, and they say God loves a trier. But I've got to be honest, man, his ceiling is fairly limited.
Well, you know what? You say that, Laurie, but actually something that really stood out to me was, yes, he had a tricky start for sure. However, towards like the third round, I'd say start of the third round, end of the second, start of the third round onwards, he was actually putting some things together really nicely. Like technically he was growing into that fight. And of course he's, recently moved gyms. He's now under Tony Sims in the Matchroom gym. And it made me feel a little bit like optimistic about actually, I think that, I could be wrong, but I feel like that towards the third round onwards, that was the most technical version of Johnny Fisher I had seen personally. He was slipping a lot on the inside, coming up through the body. There was one that was a real low blow, but the intentions were there. He was coming up through the body, coming up over the top, and eventually he got the guy out of there, right? And pretty early on in the fight as well. So I did feel quite like, oh, okay, he's definitely taken on some tutelage under Tony Sims and co. However, when I think about the fight, a potential fight between himself and Jeamie TKV, I don't know.
Yeah. As I said, he did try. You're right. He's trying to work on different things. It was first fight under his new trainer, Tony Sims. He was originally with Mark Tibbs. And so, you got to give him credit. He got the win. He had an inauspicious start. That being said, though, as I said, he has a ceiling. And even though he got the win, Melissa, I've got to be honest with you. Put it this way, if I'm Jeamie TKV and I'm watching that and that fight is being suggested between me and Johnny Fisher, I'm getting onto my promoter and say, make the fight. because I would fancy Jeamie TKV quite strongly to beat him. Especially coming off the back of that, let's be honest, an upset win over Fraser Clark. If I'm Jeamie TKV, I'm saying yeah, because what Johnny Fisher does bring is he brings eyes, because he does have a big following, he has a name. With respect to Jeamie TKV, Johnny Fisher's name is actually bigger than Jeamie TKV's, even though he's a champion. And it's a very winnable fight for him. So if I'm Jeamie TKV, I'm like, yeah, bring it on. And I'm sure Johnny Fisher will probably want it as well, an opportunity to fight for the British title. It's not going to get much better than that for him, I would humbly suggest. So yeah, let's make the fight.
Interesting. Yeah, I would also lean quite favourably towards Jeamie TKV winning that fight. I think just the pedigrees of each individual sort of set them apart.
Definitely.
But yeah, aside from that, obviously we had some other really good fights on that particular card. We had Beatriz Ferreira, who was stopped really early on in her fight against the Turkish monster, whose name has slipped my mind, but
I saw, is it Erin Fur or something like that? I forget her name.
Turin,
Turin,
I think,
something like
Turin.
that. But hey, man.
Wow. Do you know what it is? Like, she is not a pretty boxer. Like, it looks god awful when she's boxing, but it's so effective. I mean, she throws everything behind every shot. Yeah,
and she's powerful as well.
She's powerful, but she throws from the hip and she moves her head offline, but not as like a defensive strategy. She moves it offline because she's throwing everything behind it, and like her whole body weight. And obviously Beatriz Ferreira is like, you know,
former standout amateur.
Standout amateur, Olympian, like, you know, the whole shebang, the glitz and glam. And definitely wasn't. I think
that was the first time I'd seen that Turkish girl, and I've got to admit I was so impressed. Yes. As you said, not so much with her technical skills, but her raw aggression, the power, the relentlessness. When she had that girl up against the ropes, man, the way she was unloading every shot had bad intentions on it. And if you notice, he even got caught a few times mid-exchange, which, you know what I mean, they will tell you, you know what I mean, you don't just go all guns blazing like that, even when you got your opponent hurt. Yeah. You've still got to be a little bit defensively responsible. Yeah,
but she
had one thought process, and that's to get her out of there.
Yes.
And I would imagine that she has made a lot of fans after that fight. And I'm one of them, because I want to see her again.
Yeah, well, they were talking about a potential fight between her and Caroline Dubois. And
I rate Caroline, man, but she would have to be on her game with this girl.
Well, I think the girl is just, I think Turin is just so unpredictable. Like, not even unpredictable, because actually she's quite predictable. Like, she's going to come in there, she's going to try and take your head off.
She's unorthodox.
She's unorthodox, yes. But, like, something that I struggled with when I was boxing was, like, boxing people who were quite unorthodox.
Yeah.
Because, like, when you're technically minded, or when you want to do things in like certain ways, structured ways, and you want to move in a certain way, and someone's just not allowing you to do that because they're so unorthodox with it, I would find it would really throw me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. Yeah, we've seen many examples of this down the years where you get, you know, your world-schooled fighter comes up against a slugger and they struggle because the shots come from everywhere. They're awkward, they're unorthodox, they do things that they're unpredictable.
And it's really hard to train for that style as well. You know what I mean? But
it may be a bit before your time, right? And I'm not saying this in a condescending way at all, but there was a fighter years ago called Vernon Forrest. He's since deceased. He came up against a guy called Ricardo Mayorga. I think he's from Nicaragua. So you had Vernon Forrest, who's the world school, very, very good fighter. Very technical, very gifted, and he fought Mayorga twice, and Mayorga beat him twice. And it was because of that same thing, raw aggression, Mayorga unorthodox, come out of there, just letting his hands go. And Vernon Forrest found it difficult to cope.
It's hard.
And he beat Vernon Forrest twice. So that fight with Caroline Dubois, man, I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. I would love to see that.
Because I rate Caroline highly.
I would love to see that fight.
But Caroline as well, she loves to fight.
She does.
So that would be, listen, sign me up for that, man.
Yeah.
I'm there. I'm there.
Yeah, that was a great fight. And then obviously we had the Pat McCormack fight.
Yeah.
And right at the last moment of that fight, I think it was round 12, right?
Yeah, it was.
He got
big
stopped.
Upset.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to say this, right? So Pat McCormack is one of the best technically gifted fighters. Again, a technically gifted fighter losing to a guy that is not on his level in terms of technical ability and skills. I mean, Pat McCormack is an Olympic silver medalist. You know what I mean? He's been around the amateur scene for a long time, maybe too long. But I expected him to win this fight and win it comfortably, even though I respect Conor Walker as a good fighter. But I didn't see that coming. That's a big upset. And he got stopped as well. Is Pat McCormack one of those guys that stayed in the amateurs too long? Because given the levels that people thought he would attain, this is a very big loss for him, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was interesting because as I was watching
people expected him to be winning world titles.
That's right. But when I was watching that fight, I was thinking about a conversation that we've had in the past when we were talking about, you know, the likes of Joshua Buatsi, who also was, you know, a standout amateur Olympian, etc., and how he hasn't quite reached the potential that people expected of him. And I had a similar feeling when I was watching Pat McCormack. Like, he is technically super gifted, but I don't know. There might be something to that. I mean, obviously, it doesn't track with every person who's, because then you look at, you know, other people who've been standout amateurs or Olympians and they're doing extremely well. Ben Whittaker, right? But arguably, he's not really been tested yet.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, the thing, there's definitely something to be said about that, and I wonder if there's something about the amateur game, which, as you know, is very like point scoring. It's very like, it doesn't have to be like hard shots, right? It's not like plant your feet and and, you know, wallop them. So maybe there's just a conditioning or a programming coming from the amateurs that when you translate it into the pros, it doesn't quite translate in a way that's super effective. I don't know.
No, I agree. I mean, this may be a debate for another show. We must do it. But I have a theory that a lot of these guys, they stay in the amateurs too long. I mean, we all know, you box yourself. Amateur game and pro game's two different things, man. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. The skills are transferable. So, you know, someone like Pat McCormack, like Ben Whittaker, you know what I mean, got on the podium at the Olympics. You're expecting these guys to do really, really well. But sometimes if they're staying around the amateurs too long, they're fighting the best guys in the amateurs. You know, by the time they make the transition to the pros, they've left a lot of themselves in the amateurs.
That's right.
Likewise, and I'm sure you're going to mention it, Peter McGrail was on that same card. He was another top amateur. And he lost to the guy Masood, who I do rate.
Yeah. Shabazz Masood.
But that was a bit of an upset as well.
Right. There was a lot of upsets that night.
But that was a very good fight too.
Yeah, it was a great fight. Yeah, interesting. We should get into that on another show. But yeah, aside from those fights on the Monaco card, we also this weekend had my favourite cruiserweight, who he was in a he wasn't in a devastating fight, but he put a devastation out on his opponent.
He did get hurt early in that fight, actually.
Yeah, he did.
Before I go any further, though, I do want to wish Sin Cara, because from what I'm hearing, he suffered a lot of damage. That knockout blow was quite devastating.
Yes,
and, I think he had a damaged vertebrae in his neck.
Yeah.
And maybe a possible brain bleed as well.
Yeah.
So shout out to Sin Cara. I hope he makes a full recovery.
Absolutely. But yeah, Jai Opetaia in a fight against Sin Cara. And he did. He got rocked quite early on in the fight. He then mentioned afterwards in a post-fight interview that, you know, he felt maybe he'd been a bit complacent, or he's gotten complacent, and that really woke him up, kind of thing. But anyway, he did stop.
I think that can happen when. No disrespects to the likes of Sin Cara, but I think Opetaia's had a few fights like this now where they're pretty much gimme fights. Sometimes it can affect a fighter's focus because they're expected to win and they're not quite at their optimum level in terms of concentration and focus, and that can result in their performances being less than stellar. And I think that's what Opetaia needs now. He needs to fight.
Yeah, but this is
test.
Is it him not fighting a proper test, or is it that no one wants to take the fight against Jai Opetaia? And like, you can't really blame them, because I was reading somewhere that of the last 6 opponents he's had, 5 of them have been hospitalized afterwards. You know, the guy is an absolute.
He's a bad man.
He really is. And
certified. He's even got that persona, hasn't he?
He is.
He has that kind of cold look in his eyes that you think, you know what, I want to upset this man. You know,
like he to me, he is a purist in like like even this interview he did recently, which I really rated him. Of course I would, because this is kind of my opinion too. But he was saying like, what's going on in boxing? Like, what's happening to all these like these commercial fights that are not about pitting the best against the best, but they're about money and they're about this and that. And if you're someone like Jai Opetaia, or if I was Jai Opetaia, I would be absolutely fuming that I am IBF and ring champion and I'm struggling to get these big fights, these big money fights, when I can see, you know, other fights from less talented or less successful boxers being made. It would piss me off.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. He must be very frustrated. I mean, he was calling out Zurdo Ramirez, who's one of the other belt holders, but we now know that Zurdo Ramirez is going to fight David Benavidez. Benavidez stepping up in weight. I reckon Opetaia, in short, he's going to have to go up to heavyweight.
I think so too. Yeah.
I mean, I think he has the physical dimensions to do so. He's not as big as the likes of Fury and AJ and all those guys, but yeah, I think he's going to go up to heavyweight, and I reckon he'll be a real force there as well.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, he is a force
fighter.
To be reckoned with, isn't he? But yeah, best wishes and prayers and thoughts to Sin Cara.
100%.
And hope he makes a full and quick recovery. But yeah, that was pretty much the whole roundup from the weekend's boxing. Lots of, you know, entertainment for us.
Yeah, it was good. There was another fight card over in America that I enjoyed as well. Stephen Fulton, he took on O'Shaquie Foster, but he let himself down by not making the weight properly and all that. He was easily beaten, so that was disappointing. But the main fight, I don't know if you watched that one, Pitbull Cruz versus Lamont Roach.
I didn't catch any of the American fights.
Yeah, watch that fight, man. Good fight.
Awesome.
Fight. Yeah.
Yes, I will catch up. But yes, thank you, Laurie.
No problem. Pleasure.
And thank you guys for tuning in. And in the meantime, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.